Today I wanted to talk about navigating white spaces in Kenya. Now, a white space, these are particular areas that have been built for and designed to cater for white people or the Mzungu in Kenya. And I'm doing this topic because I recently got kicked out of a place called The Hub in Karen, and I felt that that was a very racially motivated action that the management of The Hub took. And I'm going to give you the story. Now, when you look at this video, this is how The Hub looks like, and you can clearly see all the images that have been put up. You can see that this is not an African space. You cannot see any African motifs. You can see it's specifically designed to cater to the Europeans in Kenya or the Mzungu in Kenya. So it's not an African space. It's not a place where you go and you feel in Africa. In fact, the idea is once you get there is to feel that you're not in Africa. So this is a white space, and there are very many white spaces in Kenya. The more high-end a place is, the more likely it's designed not to cater for us, but to cater for foreigners. The entire system, the entire economy of Kenya is designed to cater for foreigners. A lot of the economic activities that Kenyans participate in, especially in terms of export, are clearly designed to cater to foreigners. When flowers are grown, when Kenya dedicates vast amounts of land to growing flowers, the flowers are not meant for us, they're meant for foreigners. When huge millions of acres are dedicated to grow tea and coffee, we are not the primary market. All the good stuff is exported. It's meant to cater for foreigners. The entire economy of Kenya is still based upon the colonial structure, whereby it doesn't respond to local needs. It's designed to respond to foreign wants. And so that's why you can see that we have a limited food production. When you look at the nations that produce wheat, Kenya is almost at the very bottom, because the best land in Kenya, the most arable land, is dedicated to crops that are not meant to cater for us. So that is the context of all these places that are built to cater for Western consumers or foreign consumers. So The Hub is such a place, and that's the context of it. It's a white place. It's a Mzungu place, or rather, it's a white space. It's a Mzungu space. Okay, it's not necessarily for people like me. That the designers didn't have Africans in mind when they were putting together this place. So you can just see the way it's designed. So one day I was in the area, so for some reason I decided to go there. It was lunchtime. We buy food and we asked them, where is the best place to sit? So they tell us, go upstairs, there's a food court, and you can sit in the food court. We are like, cool. So we go to the food court and we sit there, and within a few minutes someone shows up and stands by our table staring at us with a lot of hostility. So we are like, what do you want? They are like, you can't be here. We are like, what do you mean we can't be here? We are just told downstairs that this is the sitting place. He tells us you can't be here. And anyway, the conversation goes bad. From that point onwards, the conversation does not go well, because he has a lot of attitude and he's hostile. There's an undercurrent that you don't belong here. Okay, at any rate, he leaves, and then after a while, a security guard shows up, and what we call a watchman. And the watchman you can see his expression on his eyes. He's extremely hostile, and he's saying we cannot be here, and we are confused why we cannot be here. At any rate, he says we have to get out. So we are like, we refuse to get out because we don't understand why you're getting kicked out. And then afterwards, after this security guard leaves, you can see those guys. Can you see those guys back there? Yeah, those two guys. These are some kind of private security. So they come and begin to hover around us. And so I'm like, you don't have to hover, just come and talk to us. At any rate, they talk in harsh tones, and then they come to our table with extreme aggression and extreme hostility. They are glaring at us, saying that we cannot be there. He's demanding, the issue apparently was, you have to buy food from there. But we already had food that we had bought from downstairs, where the guys told us, you can go upstairs and sit. At any rate, they do not want to hear that. So I point out to the Mzungu seated next to me, I'm like, the Mzungu hasn't bought anything. How come you're not approaching him and asking him to get out? Well, apparently, you're not supposed to say that because, again, this is a white space. It's meant for them. So they have privilege of not following any kind of rules because, again, this is their country. This is not our country, you know. So at any rate, they do not want to hear that. So they begin to threaten us. They say they're going to put us in prison. I'm like, for what crime? They say that we are going to get it. We are going to see today. We are going to see them today. You can imagine they're being very hostile and very rude. And now they've created a commotion. Now there's a whole commotion, there's whole drama, and they're seeking to publicly humiliate us and embarrass us. Okay? So at any rate, they say, you're not leaving. I said, am I detained? Who are you? You're civilians like me. You can't arrest me. Any attempted detention is called kidnapping. Okay? So at any rate, they said they're going to get the police. Not just any police, they're going to get the inspector himself. So after a while, the police showed up. Now these are uniformed police. You won't see them in this video. So the uniformed police, they have 2 machine guns, and you know, police in Kenya are given 20 bullets each. So these are 40 bullets that have been brought to deal with us because we're in the wrong space. And again, I point out, how come you're not talking to the Mzungu? If the issue is to purchase anything, how come the Mzungu hasn't purchased anything? And he's sitting right there, you're not talking to him. So at any rate, the police were very polite, very reasonable. They tried to find out, had any crime been committed by us? Apparently, we hadn't committed any crime. So they were like, obviously, there's no crime here. At any rate, we leave, you know, under armed escort. And by that time, the drama, you have no idea. Now there's like 10 security guys surrounding us. Okay, because they have to prove a point that we are not welcome in this space. And so many people have gone through this. So I just wanted to relate that incident. This happened to me personally. This is not some theory. I'm the person who's taking the video. So I wanted to talk about this and to go deeper into the issue that so many Africans in Kenya face. This is not unusual. This is very common. Very many people report that when they go to these so-called high-end places, either the waiters ignore them, the service is very poor. They can clearly see that the Mzungu, because these places are designed for the Mzungu. So if there are Mzungus there, they'll see that the Mzungus are treated different from them. So there's a lot of racial discrimination against Africans in Kenya. And the police in this case were misused by the coconuts. You see these Africans that are very hostile. When you see Africans being that hostile, you just know that they're trying to impress their master. And their master, 99% of the time, is a non-African. So they have to show extreme aggression towards other Africans in order to please whoever is controlling them. So at any rate, so they misuse the police to enforce discriminatory policies that we could clearly see. Okay? And the reason why you cannot see, and the reason why the video is so broken up and huge parts of the video are missing, is because they stole my phone and deleted the videos through threats of violence. And that in itself is a crime because it's called robbery. Robbery with the threat of violence. So they stole my phone from me, deleted all the videos because I was taking a video. You know, you have to document everything. Especially when you're dealing with coconuts in Kenya, you need to document everything. So at any rate, they deleted the videos. So I had to use very expensive software to try and recover the deleted video, which is the reason why you can see it's very broken up. But parts of it are clear enough for you to see what happened. So this is the situation in Kenya, whereby I find that, you know, coconuts are an existential threat to the rest of us because in their urge to serve whoever their foreign master is, they put us in danger. The private security guards who work for the hub, they were saying with a lot of aggression that I have no right to film them. They don't understand that under law, there is no expectation of privacy in a public place. So if you're in a public place, you can be filmed by anyone. That's why there's CCTV all over. Anyone can put a CCTV facing the street and film anything because that is a public place. So already, just by their conversation, I understood that they didn't know the law. And by detaining me by force, that is called kidnapping. And by stealing my phone, that is theft. In fact, it's robbery because they were using the threat of violence to take the phone. So they committed several crimes for which the police should have arrested them. And these things that they did exposes the hub to legal liability, because you can sue them, or I can sue them, for violating my rights. First of all, in deleting all my videos in my phone, that is private property, and that's called malicious damage to private property. And they were doing this in order to suppress a crime, because what they did, they knew it was wrong. They knew it will not look good if this video gets out. So that's why they were really insistent upon snatching my phone and destroying the evidence. They were extremely worried that the video would leak out. Well, I still have it. It's very damaged, but at least I have it, right? So it shows you that the coconuts are not afraid to break any law in order to serve the foreigner. The foreigner is above the law, or rather the Mzungu is above the law. He's not subject to our laws, but us, we are under the law. So you can clearly see different treatment in this situation. So I always tell you, this is not our country. This is Mzungu country. The Mzungu comes first, okay? And then the Indians, and then the Chinese, and then us, we come last, if at all. But the idea is that the entire state exists to serve foreign interests, which is why they're able to call the cops on me, and I'm not able to call the cops on them, and the cops assist them in oppressing me in this situation. And this is by no means something strange, because remember, there was a Chinese restaurant in Nairobi that had banned Africans from eating there. You remember? And the word got out that Africans are banned from eating at that Chinese restaurant, that any African who goes in there has to be a servant, right? You remember that? And you remember that time the governor of Nairobi was Sonko. And you remember Sonko came out very, very strongly in defending the Chinese racists, not defending us, but defending the foreigners. That's what the state does. The state is there to protect foreign interests. From who? From us. It's not there to defend us at any point. And very many people were annoyed. And there is story after story after story, when you look at the media, of Kenyans complaining that they go into these white spaces, or spaces created for foreigners, and then they get discriminated against in very many places, especially at the coast and in other different places, because the coconuts are everywhere. And in order to impress the foreigners, they have to be especially nasty to you if you're an African. So the discrimination is coming from other Africans, okay, the brainwashed part of the population. The one accusation they made against me, which I thought was very interesting, is that at some point they accused me of being arrogant. Now, mind you, we are strangers. We've never met before. So it's difficult to understand how anyone can know that I'm arrogant, in quotes. That term arrogance, it reminded me of the Jim Crow era in the United States. And the main accusation that was leveled against black people during the Jim Crow era was that they were uppity. And uppity is another word for arrogance. And in this context, it means that the black person does not know his place. The word uppity connotes a situation where a black person demonstrates a dignity or autonomy that they are not supposed to possess. This term arrogance is the exact same term that white racists would use against black people when black people behaved as if they were equal to white people. And you remember, one of the main accusations against President Obama when he first became president was that the white people would accuse him of being uppity. It's another word for arrogant. So when a black person doesn't know his place in society, and you begin to think or to imagine yourself equal to a Mzungu, then you're accused of being uppity or arrogant. So what they were accusing me was, they were saying I'm uppity, that I'm demanding to be treated like the Mzungu who was seated next to me, who hadn't made any purchase and yet was unmolested and not bullied or harassed. That I thought within my insanity that I was equal to the Mzungu, and so they had to prove that I wasn't equal to the Mzungu. So that's why they kept on saying you are arrogant or you are uppity. You think you are like a Mzungu, yet you're not. Here, you're not. You're a nobody here. This is not a space for people like you. In this space, you're only here comfortably as a servant. So if you're not a servant, you're out of place. So this is the message they were sending me. And I thought it was very interesting that such terms could come from Africans, but it shows you how deep the brainwashing is amongst most African men, that they will fight you as an enemy before they touch the Mzungu, because the Mzungu is also God. Like if you go to church, the African men are worshipping statues of a Mzungu, saying that statue is God and that statue is their God. So how can you equate yourself to a Mzungu who is in charge getting worshipped as God? So they had to bully me, and they had to treat me and to remind me that I am not equal to a Mzungu. And so the selective application of the rules. I have to buy something, I had already bought something, the Mzungu doesn't have to buy anything. Those are the rules in a slave society. So since I was acting above my place, they had to cut me down to size. And this they did. They sought to humiliate and embarrass me in front of everyone, to create a commotion and drama, and kick me out in public in the presence of the Mzungu, so that it can be seen by everyone. Here is not an African place. This is a European place. This is a Mzungu space. So I guess this is why the Mau Mau went into the forest to fight the British. I guess this is why Dedan Kimathi had to die. He had to die so that the sellouts, the coconuts, the brainwashed African men could recreate colonialism, could recreate discrimination, could recreate an apartheid state, which is what they have done. And this is just a microcosm of what happens throughout the country. And it has happened to so many people. There is nothing unique and there's nothing new about this. What was interesting for me was that it actually happened to me. The coconuts and the brainwashed Africans are a whole different breed. And they do remain an existential threat to the rest of us.